9:30. So we're gonna rise to the pledge.
We need to get to
Yeah, give me a call, please get my number.
that. Sounds good, thanks.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thank you. Roll call, please.
McIntyre. Peter.
Here.
DeCook.
Here.
Crystal is here. Okay.
And Crystal's also here and online. Crystal, can you hear us?
She's on mute.
Okay, just let her know.
Yep.
Unmute and we'll bring her on. All right, first on the agenda today is our consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda will be enacted by one motion. Claims have a claims figure of $1,890,912.35. Of that, 1.48 is related to the 911 towers Motorola payment. Fringe benefits, I've got $36.98. C, minutes to approve, August 17, 2021, regular meeting, August 24, 2021, closed session meeting, August 24, 2021, special meeting, August 24, 2021, work session, August 27, 2021. Maybe there was a special meeting that went into. D, approve medical examiner appointments for Warren County. E, abatement of mobile home taxes pursuant to Iowa Code Chapter 435.25 on the VIN number HH 4645INAB1 in the amount of $188 plus all accrued interest. F, abatement of mobile home taxes pursuant to Iowa Code Chapter 435.25 on VIN number 182755 in the amount of $148 plus all accrued interest. G, approve application for fireworks permit for J&M Displays, Inc. H, approve application for fireworks permit for Knot Fest Festival. I, approve 5-day Class C liquor license application for Best Catering and Concessions, Inc. J, approve 6-month pay increase for Robbie Inquist in the Secondary Roads Department effective September 1, 2021. K, approve step increase for Matthew Drish in the Second Roads Department effective September 3, 2021. L, approve 6-month pay increase for Andrew Apple in the Secondary Roads Department effective September 15, 2021. M, approve payroll removal for Connie Bromwell, Auditor's Office effective August 13, 2021. N, approve employee new hire Danielle Holtree, Criminal Clerk, Sheriff's Office effective September 13, 2021. O, approve employee new hire Margaret Weatherman, Dispatcher, Sheriff's Office effective September 6, 2021. P, approve employee new hire Debbie Martins, on-call sub cook, Nutrition Department, effective August 30th, 2021. Q, approve new employee new hire Tanner Bradley, appraiser, Assessor's Office, effective August 31, 2021. R, approve employee rehire Marissa Solvers, Legal Assistant, Attorney's Office, effective August 17, 2021. S, approve employee rehire Kathy Robinson, on-call sub-cook, Nutrition Department, effective August 27, 2021. T, approve payroll removal for Haley Orowski, Legal Assistant, Attorney's Office, effective August 10, 2021. U, approve payroll removal for Jennifer Gavlin, Site Manager Cook, Nutrition Department, effective August 27, 2021. B, approve employee transfer for Victoria Gizzi from the Sheriff's Office to the Auditor's Office, effective August 27, 2021. W, approve employment status for Jamie Lee, Dispatcher, Sheriff's Office, effective September 6, 2021. X, reschedule a public hearing 1485-8 118th Avenue, Enola, Iowa, 50125, from September 21, 2021 at 6:05 p.m. That's September 21, 2021 at 6:05 p.m. And why reschedule public hearing date originally scheduled for September 7, 2021 at 9:45 a.m. for final plat number 2, Splendid Acres, to September 21, 2021 at 6:25 p.m. Do we have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
I'll make
Motion to
a,
approve consent
she's
agenda.
there.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Heater,
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye, motion carries. Number 2 on our agenda is discuss setbacks in RR1 subdivision submitted by Tom Nicholson and consider a waiver to setback requirements for stables with possible action. Good morning, Lindsay.
Morning. In our RR1 subdivision ordinance, or zoning ordinance, it states a private stable provided that any structure shall be located at least 200 feet from all boundary lines of which the property is located. The Board of Supervisors may waive this requirement during the subdivision process, and Tom Nicholson has purchased land on G58 highway and has, is going through the land has been rezoned to RR1 and he's in the subdivision process, and he was wondering about that stable requirement, if we could get that 200 feet property line requirement waived. The side setback, 50 feet front and back is the setback for front and rear for an accessory building, and 25 is the side in RR1 district. It's A1 is 15 feet on the sides, but in RR1 it's 25 for an accessory structure. I know we have waived it in other subdivisions before.
Have we heard from any neighbors?
No.
Does our zoning director have an opinion on
I would recommend approving the waiver to that.
it? Okay. Are there any questions from the board members?
No questions?
Is there a motion before us?
Chris.
Those are his. I'll make a motion to approve the, new setbacks in R1 subdivision submitted by Tom Nicholson, and to consider the waiver to the setback requirement for the stables.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, roll call please.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Heater,
Aye.
DeCook.
Nay. Motion carries. Number 3 starts at 9:40. I've got 9:39 and some change. And that will be a public hearing regarding repeal of chapter 23, restrictions for display and sale of products containing pseudoephedrine, Warren County Code of Ordinances, and it is now 9:40. Good morning, Don.
Good morning.
Years ago, this ordinance was chapter 23 was placed in the Code of Ordinances for Warren County because there were no state regulations regarding pseudoephedrine. Pseudoephedrine appears in products like Claritin D. Somebody who wants to manufacture meth can get that product. And so the state eventually devised a law that made it more difficult to get products that contain pseudoephedrine. The upshot is the county no longer needs this particular ordinance. You do need to go into a public hearing for this.
I'm gonna make a motion to go into public hearing.
Second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. We're in public hearing.
And as I explained, this particular ordinance is no longer needed because there is state law and federal law that governs pseudoephedrine display in stores. I have received no comments either in email or in writing regarding this ordinance proposal. This proposed ordinance was placed downstairs in the auditor's office for view. It was also placed online for the public to see. This is simply a repeal of that ordinance.
Okay. We are in public hearing. Are there any comments from the public, either in the room or online, regarding what is essentially ordinance cleanup?
I do not have anyone.
Seeing none, do we have a motion to end public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. Do we have a motion regarding repeal of chapter 23, restrictions for display and sale of products containing pseudoephedrine?
I'll make a motion to repeal chapter 23, restrictions for display and sale of pseudoephedrine.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
We'll see you again on number 5. Number 4 on our agenda today is consider a request from Larry Hughes to move to rescind restriction of 9 lots in resolution 06-128, subject to the approval of the Board of Supervisors and the platting of the property. Mr. Hughes, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Larry Hughes, 208 East First Street in Ackworth, Iowa. This restriction was placed by the Supervisor Board in 2006 prior to some changes in the requirements for subdivisions. Currently, we have got a preliminary plat for 18 lots on this 80-acre parcel, and having talked to and worked with the county engineer, it's determined that from their perspective anyway, that if we pave the road from Highway 28 on Fulton down to the second private drive, which is about 1,300 feet, then our feeling is that we need to go bigger. In fact, we don't quite understand this board recommendation at the time, because under our current 4 per 40 law, we could have got 4 per 40 plus 1 that's over 20 acres, so we could have got, back in those days, I wasn't involved, but that could have been 10 lots. So anyway, now that we're going to pave that county road to where the dust issue is not an issue any longer, while we're asking for 18 lots. They'll be ranging from a small 3 to a big 10 acres, with a couple 7s or 6s, and the rest are somewhere between 3 and 5. And that's the request that we've expressed. With the cost of paving, we do need to increase the yield just to cover some of that for the improvement to the area.
Okay. see our engineers here, and Lindsay's back there too. Can I hear from both of you? Or does anyone have any questions for Mr. Hughes while he's here, while he's up?
Yeah. So Larry is bringing a preliminary plat in front of the zoning commission, next Monday night, the 13th. And, in the process of that, we went back and this land was approved back in 2006. And it was approved at the time with restrictions, recommendation from the zoning commission at the time. I think that the land was, intended to kind of stay in the family. And at the time it was discussed if the land stays, or if the land does go to a developer, would those restrictions go on? And, it was stated, yes, they should go on with the, to the new developer if a developer would purchase it. So in discussions with, myself and Doug Eichholz on Friday, because the land has already been rezoned, really the only thing to do at this point, he can ask to rescind that resolution, that portion of the resolution. But he is wanting to move forward with a request, for a preliminary plat. Right now, his preliminary plat does have 18 lots on it. You can have, in an RR1 today, you can, which would have been the same back in 2006, we just didn't have the paving requirement in our ordinance. He can have up to 30 lots, a house on every 2 acres. I was reading back through some of the minutes from that. The roads were a big concern. The dust, the roads. So I know he has, Larry has met with David and regarding the paving, and so that's kind of where we're at. I don't know if you want to handle this now or if you want to see it go through a preliminary plat. And you do not see a preliminary plat. The zoning commission makes a recommendation on a preliminary plat, and then they make a recommendation, or they approve a preliminary plat, and then they make a recommendation on a final plat, and then you approve the final plat. So you would not actually technically see his platting until it comes to you on a final plat. So for you to actually make any deviations from the 9 to 18, it wouldn't happen until he's gone through the whole process of the final. So I think, but there are some neighbors that are concerned about the project now. Again, it's the roads and just having homes out there. But the land was rezoned back in 2006, so there will not be a rezoning for the land at this point in time, because that was done, so.
As far as where we're at in the process, we reached out to the consulting firm he's using to do the engineering work. But for now, it's just stating what our, typical DOT standards are that we would use as a county to pave a road. But we don't ask for those drawings or drainage calculations or things of that nature till preliminary plat's actually approved, which it makes a lot of sense. Why would you take that risk to spend that type of money with a consulting firm before you have preliminary approval? So if he does get preliminary plat approval, that's when we'll start asking for the drawings, doing our reviews, and making sure it's done right. And then you get into the situation as to whether or not they build out the infrastructure first prior to final plat approval, or if they desire to go the performance bond or line of credit route. And that's when you typically would want to see them build out the infrastructure first. But that's going to be your guys' call. So. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve. Okay. Are there questions from the board? I don't see any. I feel like procedurally we're kind of in a variance from what we usually where we usually do it, but I understand why the developer's inquiring, because if that resolution is not rescinded, then it probably doesn't make economic sense for them to go forward with some of the other stuff. I'll tell you, my take is that I've not heard from any neighbors yet, and probably because it's so early and it's before preliminary plat. My general take with development is that I like it when it's done well. I like it when we're paving from pavement to pavement, so that if we're adding new residences, new homes to what is traditionally the country, that absent if it's one or two, or I guess 4 per 40, that the developer then is taking the costs by themselves to make sure that there's a paved access to another paved road. And it appears from listening to Mr. Hughes and our engineer that that's sort of the plan. So long as that's done to our standards at a minimum, I don't have an issue with it. I also believe in property rights, that folks can do with their property as they so choose. It's already rezoned, so that's not a hurdle. I think it really just comes down to whether or not the road and the infrastructure is going to be done correctly. And if those things happen, then I'm not intending to be an obstacle to it. Although maybe we could do it at a later date. I don't know. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Aaron, but I don't think I'm at a point now where I'd want to rescind the decisions that a board made, 15 years ago, until we move further down the process and the zoning commission gets an opportunity to understand what's going on. I prefer to get a recommendation from the zoning commission, and with the understanding that I'd be all for it if the recommendation came to our board as a positive one. And it would be nice if the neighbors, if their concerns were addressed and talked through a little bit. I would not be opposed to, I'm not opposed to 18 on the onset of this, but I'd like to learn more and understand it better.
Supervisor McIntyre, do you have some thoughts?
No, I don't, thank you.
Okay. Well, do we have a motion regarding the rescission of the restriction to 9 lots from 2006, or does this board want to wait until we have it a little further along the path? Seems like that's Darren's thoughts. Crystal, are you making a motion on this one or no?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Then it would appear as though we've got 2 out of 3 that would prefer to give it a little more time and to move forward with the infrastructure aspect of it, the paving aspect of it, before they're ready to take a vote on the rescinding of that restriction. So at this point, I suppose we just table it or move on to the next one. Is that right? Okay. All right. Number 5 on the agenda is another public hearing scheduled for 9:50.
Thanks, Larry.
Make a motion to go into public hearing. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Heater,
Aye.
DeCook.
We're now in public hearing regarding repeal of Chapter 4, accepting and recording gifts, and adopting Chapter 4, prohibition against the acceptance of gift by county officials, county employees, and their dependent family members.
Good morning, I'm back before you with Chapter 4 as just described by Chairman DeCook. What we have done is make the current chapter, the proposed chapter 4 more currently aligned with Iowa code. It is a more complete ordinance than I believe we had before. I would ask that the board consider repealing chapter 4, accepting and reporting gifts, and adopting chapter 4, prohibition against the acceptance of gifts by county officials, county employees, and their dependent family members.
Did we go into public hearing?
We did.
In addition, I have heard from nobody regarding this ordinance. I had no emails and I had no written concerns come to my attention. This also was placed out on the internet for folks to look at on the Warren County website.
Don, I'll apologize. I was skimming a letter and signed it, and I didn't quite catch the import of the change here. Can you go through that one more time? I'll focus.
Yes, this is simply to update the ordinance and make it more complete. I believe this is a more complete ordinance than what we had previously.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone online or in the room who'd like to comment? Well, I have a question. What are the new, what's the difference? I mean, just on the face of it, it doesn't look great. We're removing a prohibition of accepting gifts for the county, so just for the public's benefit, what?
There's more explanation within the new ordinance, within the proposed ordinance. It explains exactly what they can and cannot do. And that was an effort to be clearer for county employees and their family members and any businesses where they are involved. And it just provides more information for those employees about what they can and cannot do.
I was just envisioning a terrible headline. County officials rescind prohibition against accepting gifts. That doesn't look good, but it actually strengthens it. It makes it more defined of what you can and can't do.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Do we have a motion?
You need to go out of public hearing.
Do we have a motion to end public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any motions on the change to chapter 4?
I'll make a motion to repeal chapter 4.
We didn't do roll call on.
Oh, sorry, roll call on.
McIntyre?
leaving public hearing.
Aye.
Heater?
Aye.
DeCook?
Aye. Okay, we're out of public hearing. And do we have a motion now regarding chapter 4?
Make a motion to repeal chapter 4, accepting and reporting gifts, and adopt chapter 4, prohibition against acceptance of gifts by county officials, county employees, and their dependent family members.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Heater?
Aye.
DeCook?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye, motion carries. Thanks. And looks like we have another public hearing regarding repeal of chapter 3, general assistance, and adopting revised chapter 3, general assistance. Warren County Code of Ordinances. Let's go to public hearing first. Do we have a motion to go to public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Heater?
Aye.
DeCook?
Good morning, Betsy. How
Good
are you?
morning, good. I worked with Don with updating basically the general assistance ordinance. There weren't a whole lot of significant changes. Went through and really just kind of cleaned it up. Example is changing, we used to define family, but we changed that to household. Really getting into more of how we're functioning in the day-to-day with it. Let's see, other big things. Really, it was just a cleanup of it. We did remove transportation. We had previously had a community partner that we could do gas vouchers with. We were very much limited who could be eligible for gas vouchers. It was only for individuals when they were job searching. However, that was very difficult for us to know if that's what it was really for. It was really whatever they said when they came in and asked for it. Since we no longer have a community partner providing gas, We haven't done gas vouchers for probably a year and a half now, so I just removed that from the ordinance. Other things, we remove food, as again, we have a lot of community partners that really handle the food need within the county. You know, Helping Hand is kind of really added as to what they're doing in the community, so we're referring everybody there anyways. Lots of food pantries that we refer everybody to, so we're doing more community referrals rather than providing it ourselves. The other big one I would say is just the funeral expenses, updating the wording. I know we've talked about this in other budget hearings, those kind of things, but updating the funeral wording to really say that this isn't to supplement, you know, your $15,000 funeral and getting $1,900 from the county. It's really if you don't have any other money to put with the funeral, then you're coming to the county and asking us to help with that. So we have to get some wording there, cleaned up some legal settlement terminology that has changed in Iowa code, so cleaning that up. So I would say those are the big ones. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yep.
We are in public hearing. Are there any comments from the public, either in the room or online?
I would just say to the board that we have received no public input, either in email or in writing regarding this particular ordinance. It too was placed in the auditor's office, and it was placed online for folks to take a look at.
Excellent, thank you, Doug.
Make a motion to get out of public hearing.
Second.
Roll call, please.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Heater,
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to repeal the original Chapter 3 General Assistance and adopt revised Chapter 3 General Assistance, Warren County.
Second.
Okay.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Heater,
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 7, public safety radio system update. Morning, Doug.
Morning. Just coming before the board to give you an update on where we are on the project. August 17th, we did acceptance testing on the 700 system. The 7-site simulcast system went live then. Then the following week of the 23rd, Troy and I took engineers around the county. Troy had the north half of the county, I had the south half. Tested coverage, seen a lot of roads that I didn't know existed, but we hit every nook and cranny of the county. And as far as the 700, the radio part is proven to be, the preliminary is proven far above what we have requested. The VHF paging, we had some discouraging results in the north and the east, and that caused them to take a look at one of our tower sites, and they found that a cable had pulled out from the antenna, so that part is ordered. Should be here this week, and then they'll get that fixed, and then we'll be 100% on the paging. Last week we did the VHF cutover for all the fire departments for their paging. So we are live on the 7-site simulcast paging for all the fire departments, for all the city storm sirens. We did do testing on that. We called every city prior to setting off their sirens to get permission to do that. And so far there's one city that there seems to be some concern on that, but we did get permission from all of them before we did them. And those have proven to be working all right, except for an issue at Hartford, which is tied to that tower. So we're working on that. They can set it off the old way yet, off the old system, so that's still up in the dispatch center. And then once the tower's fixed, then we'll test that system again. Really want to thank the Warren County Joint 911 Service Board, the commission, and especially you guys for coming up with the finances for this. It's been a long time coming, and for the first time ever, Warren County has a true public safety grade radio system. So that is a great accomplishment for this county, and I just wanted to give you guys an update. if you guys have any questions or.
I don't, I have a comment though. I wanna tell you and Troy and Crystal and the Joint Commission, well done. Like it's really a big deal. I know it sort of flies under the radar and it's not maybe on a lot of folks' mind until you need it, and then it really becomes on their mind, or it could. And so, welcome to 2021, and Warren County's in a tremendously better spot regarding the system than where we would have been even a couple years ago, a couple months ago, I suppose. So, well done, for all involved. Thank you. Right, number 8, approve speed limit changes for county highways. We've got A, G14 highway at 45 from the Norwalk city limits to county highway R63, and B, county highway R50. Morning.
Morning. So for item A, we're asking to extend the 45 mile per hour. There's an existing one in the Norwalk city limits. So we'd be extending this all the way to R63. It's currently 55, and that stretch of road's about 1.25 miles total in length, very high volume road. There have been some incidents at that intersection over the years, as you guys are likely aware. We didn't feel the intersection itself was necessarily unsafe, but with the volume of traffic and over the years, glass half empty, there's been about 18 incidents in the last 10 years, whether they're running off the road on R63 or on G14, or it's due to ice and snow or driver error. Glass half full, 8 to 10 million travelers made it through there safely. So, but given the sheer volume and number, we feel it's necessary to at least lower the speed zone to hopefully prevent any future incidents from occurring.
Thank you, David. And while you're up on this one, I know we spoke about it. Can you talk a little bit about some of the other things that the county's doing at that specific intersection?
So
In addition
unfortunately,
to what I anticipate
Yeah.
as a speed change.
unfortunately, 3 of those incidents were people running through the intersection. I associate a lot with driver error. There were cop chases where they were eluding police. There were some under the influence cases and some people with medical conditions. However, in addition to the 45 mile per hour speed zone, we'll be installing a flashing red beacon on that stop sign, and then putting some additional warning flags on the 2 stop ahead signs that are on either side of the road.
Are the beacons up yet? I think I saw the signage up.
I would love for them to be up, but with everything in the COVID era, it seems like we're out 6 to 8 weeks on things. So as soon as we get them in, we'll install them. And we're ordering multiple in case it goes out, we can quickly install the second one.
I was just aware of some of the things that were happening at that intersection, and I wanted you to have an opportunity to discuss that in public hearing, so. Perfect. All right, let's take A, or is there any other questions for David on A? Let's take A first. I'll make a motion to reduce the speed limit to 45 miles per hour from the Norwalk city limits all the way to County Highway R63.
Second?
Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Heater,
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. And B, County Highway G50.
So this is another 45 mile per hour speed zone. It covers the overpass on I-35. Didn't feel it was unsafe due to the profile and topography of the road. However, when you approach from one of the off-bound ramps right there, you have guardrail, bridge rail, lots of signs in that area. So I think it's just a lot of information to digest for a driver when making that left or right turn. So we recommend speed zoning that overpass to 45 miles per hour just in that location.
Are there any questions for our engineer?
So the current speed limit is,
55.
okay, and you wanna reduce it to 45?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yep,
I think it's about a 1,300-foot stretch or so. So it mainly covers that overpass for right and left turn movements.
Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion to reduce the County Highway G50 section as referenced from 55 miles per hour to 45 miles per hour.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Heater,
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, number 9, discussion regarding insurance claim on the roof with possible action.
We had some minor roof damage to the Warren County Justice Center during construction. It's a small isolated area that was impacted. There's been some, we're trying to figure out a way, if there was a way to kind of flag this with our insurance company to ensure that, you know, if we ever did want to file a claim at some point in the future, that we would be able to do that. The information is a little bit vague on exactly how that would happen, but primarily this is on the agenda to just get this in front of the board one last time. This has been on your radar screen for several months. The roof damage has been repaired to a standard that makes our warranty on the roof generally, it complies and is in alignment with our warranty. So, you know, it was the recommendation from myself that we just leave the repair as is, but I've been encouraged to bring it back to the board just to get your take on this issue. And so that's why it's here. Jamie, I don't know if you have anything else that.
Just, we have to decide either we're moving forward with the claim or we're not moving forward with the claim. The insurance company says if we're moving forward, then they have to do an investigation. And there's a possibility that if we move forward, that they could possibly go after DDVI because it was their, I guess, materials that caused the wind picked up their materials, caused the damage. That's not a guarantee. Our deductible is $10,000. The estimate at the time was that it was gonna cost about $10,000 to take the patch off and actually repair that section. So, I just need to know yes or no so I can let the insurance company know we're fine with it, keeping it as is, or we wanna move forward.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'll give you my thoughts. In the event that we had an insurance claim or what would likely be a viable insurance claim that didn't swamp our deductible, I would be more inclined to pursue an insurance claim. But considering that I recalled the prior conversation that and confirmed again here, that the costs were about a wash, then it doesn't make me super eager to proceed down that path and slow things up. We're not really going to net out much, if anything. So I'm sort of agree with you, Darren, that I'm happy about the Mother Nature, the wind causing some damage there, but it is what it is at this point. So I'm not. But I'll hear others' thoughts and I'm persuaded. Supervisor McIntyre, do you have thoughts you'd like to share on this one or no?
Well, with the repair already completed, and I don't know, I just feel like this would just create ill will with our contractor. I'm happy.
Okay. That works for me. Next on the agenda then is consider Justice Center request with possible action to move forward with change order 81, landscaping fabric, river rock, and hydro seed.
This is one we've been discussing. It exceeds the owner's representative's limit. I can't approve this one. The amount, this is for landscaping fabric and rock around the perimeter of the new Warren County Justice Center, and for hydro seeding, and for some rock in our large planter on the front exterior of the Justice Center. These are, from a DNR perspective, these are what I would deem as requirements to prevent erosion, runoff, and it's been thought through from the standpoint of hydro seed to try to get a good turf built in by spring of next year. We may be coming in the spring with a request for an irrigation system. It's been kicked around to help build the turf and to keep the lawn aesthetically pleasing and plush. But that's for another discussion. This one is just primarily deemed requirements. So if there are any questions about the landscaping change order?
I appreciate DCI and their work in this. And I'd like to make a motion to approve this work order.
Second. Any discussion on this change order? I just have a comment. I think it's appropriate. Landscape fabric really helps keep weeds out. We certainly can't control the weather, as evidenced by lots of things. But if you catch a really dry spring and summer after planting and you're not pounding water on fresh grass, and or you try to take the cheap way out and scatter some grass seed and hope it rains, geez, that's just a recipe for a really unappealing lawn. And that is the last thing that I want to do at the Justice Center Square. I think that hydro seeding the fabric will help in making sure that we get some water either through fire hydrants or a system at some point, and or sprinklers. I mean, it could be whatever. We'll look at that when it comes, but this first step's important to me as well. So we've got a motion, we've got a second. Is there any further discussion on change order 81? Seeing none, roll call please.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Heater,
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye, motion carries. Number 11, Hendrickson furniture purchase order discussion with possible action.
So I just wanted to bring to the board's attention that the contract that we have with Hendrickson for furniture is mostly for the attorney and the sheriff's office. Doug and I are gonna meet this afternoon and do a conference call with our contact Kristen and kind of go through everything, make sure that everything's included in this quote that she sent us before I get this to you guys, whoever's gonna sign off on it. Right now, the balance of that is $94,823.12. And I believe when I looked at the original quote, the contract was about $3,000 more than that. So we just wanna make sure that everything that we requested that they provide is in this quote before we sign off on it. So that will be coming. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, Judy.
Number 12, consider Embark IT proposal with possible action.
This is a revised proposal. Initially, we were requested to obtain one back in August of last year. We received the proposal. We were not, however, advised that there was an initial approval on it. And things have changed. Embark went and gave us a brand new proposal, which, as you can see, prices have gone up because they've had to change things, and we all know what the microchip shortage has done. So what you see is a true reflection of what we would recommend for the refurbishment here of the boardroom.
Was the cost about 7 higher than it was?
It's about 4,500 maybe.
It was initially closer to 7, higher, and then we eliminated one line item that we could replace from an IT perspective. But what you have there is essentially the same functionality as the original quote, just using different components. They really tried hard to get us the best value.
Are there any questions for our IT director?
Just for clarification for the public, this is to upgrade our boardroom.
Correct.
Matt, it's upgrading the audio visual system within the boardroom, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Do you have a timeframe if it's approved, completion date estimate?
Because of the chip shortage and things like that, we're looking at potentially 60 days, perhaps a little bit longer than that.
And I do have a question. If we lock into the agreement with Embark, I didn't spend a ton of time on that contract, but our price they'll honor it regardless of what happens at that.
Yes,
Okay. But it's just a matter of when they get the product, so. It could
correct.
be 3 months or it could be 2 weeks. Okay. All right, do we have a motion on the table?
I'll make a motion to approve the Embark IT proposal for $47,995.96.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Heater,
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 13, receive and file report. We have a report from General Assistance Report. Number 14.
We do need
do I actually-
Receive and you need to receive and file that report.
would you like a motion?
Sure.
I'll make a motion to receive and file the general assistance report.
Second.
Roll call, please.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Heater,
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye.
Thank you.
Number 14, consider claims from Iowa Process Service with possible action.
I'll make a motion for statement number 193840 for a total of $4,500, $450 to be paid to Iowa Process Service.
Second. Discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Heater,
Abstain.
DeCook.
Aye. Motion carries.
Make a second motion for statement number 193833, the total of $1,800
Second.
to Iowa Process Service.
Second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Heater,
Abstain.
DeCook.
Aye. Thank you. Number 15 is consider memorandum of understanding regarding elderly food program with possible action.
Yes, I'm actually asking you to table this until next meeting. I had originally gotten it and did not see how many significant changes there were, so I sent it to Dawn to review at this point in time. She hasn't had a chance to because I just got it to her last week while she was gone, so I would ask that we table it until the next meeting.
That's fine here. That is okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, number 16, supervisors. Who would like to go first?
I can go. There's, just thought of something. The negotiations with our architect for the Warren County Justice Center remain ongoing and in good stead. We are meeting this afternoon to hopefully get a finalized number back in front of the board. Kenworthy furniture walls, the installation is getting a little trickier with the with streetscapes coming in right it through the access point that we want to take the furniture walls. We're learning now that date that truck's showing up. The streets will be done, the brand new street and the streetscape. So we're figuring out alternate paths, and we think we've got a good plan around that, but just be aware it's getting a little trickier. Had a nice meeting with the sheriff to talk about the controls of the jail, the new jail, and how the doors will be controlled and where they will be controlled from. And there's a little bit of disagreement with our architect on how that needs to work, but we're working through that, and I'm sure that'll end up positive. I have received this week some calls on our emergency sirens, and we'll be kind of diving into well, I guess the pushback was mainly from residents when the sirens are going off, and when they're being tested, and just improving our communication flow around how we're communicating with the city of Indianola and our residents to make sure that they understand that when that goes off, if that's a test mode or if that's a real live mode. There's just some slight confusion around that, so we're gonna kind of clean up how that works, or attempt to. Troy and I will be meeting with the city next week to dive into that a little bit. I see nothing but positives coming out of that, just improving our communication. I've also kind of dove into, I think there's a big decision coming for our county on our software. There's some significant costs coming down the path, and some decisions we need to make on vendors, and Chelsea has done a good job of developing some data, so it'll help us make a better analysis, and I hope to meet with Chelsea this week and dive into that a little bit so I can get a better understanding. We also had received some very positive feedback on social media of all venues for our treasurer's department. It seems as if maybe our public is starting to like a little bit about how we're doing business in our treasurer's department with appointments, and that was a real positive thing to read from the public, and I was very encouraged by that. And that's my report.
Thank you. Supervisor McIntyre?
I'll give one at the next meeting, thank you.
For timing's sake, I will do the same. Next up is public input. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual. The board will not take any action on comments due to the requirements of the open meetings law, but may do so in the future. No public input will be allowed for any of today's items. Do we have anyone from the public either in the room or online who would like to make a public comment?
There's no one online.
Last call for the room. With that, I will next meeting date will be September 21, 2021. That's our evening meeting, that's at 6 p.m. That again is for the benefit of those who might be unable to make the morning meeting, but potentially could make an evening meeting. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I thought we had a closed session.
We do, but we're gonna adjourn this meeting and then we'll have a closed session meeting afterwards.
Okay, thank you, sorry.
No worries.
1 second.
Roll call, please.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. We are adjourned.